Hey guys, welcome back. So I did a shout out in my last episode, but I wanted to mention, I have no problem doing that for people. If people want me to do it. I mean, I wouldn't do it every episode for the same person, but if somebody wanted me to, it's embarrassing, I guess, because nobody really watches me, so it's I mentioned this before. Everybody go over to her channel, and nobody goes. It's embarrassing. Whoa. Okay, that's impossible. Why would I do that? I do want to talk more about why did I do that? The TV show. Maybe tomorrow I'll talk about. Today is Valentine's Day. Maybe I'll talk about that tomorrow. I don't really have anything to say about it, but I should just mention it, I guess. I don't know. It's Valentine's Day for me. It's not for you. It's probably almost March. Oop. Just take it slow. Not too slow. There we go. Okay, I think I've got this. When they do the AGDQ, I do like to watch them do the speed run of this. It's fun to watch. Okay. I had a bunch more notes about the TV show. I have to mention, for me, it just happened 5 minutes ago. But for you, it's been a whole day. Or maybe you didn't even watch the last episode. I talked about a TV show called You. It's on Netflix. I want to talk more about it. I have to keep remembering to bring up, what are you talking about? Okay, is this easier? I don't understand why they do that. Maybe in a hard mode, they get rid of the slow button. But it's if the slow button's there, I'm going to push it. Maybe you get less points or something? Probably. I think this is an arcade game, so maybe you get less points if you do slow. Okay. So something really cool happened when I was watching the show that made me feel I don't know. Sometimes you watch a show and something cool happens to you as a viewer, when you're experiencing it. That's hard to explain. It's it makes it art, kind of. You feel you're involved in the show in an interesting way that's never happened before. So they did something cool. It didn't really work as much as I wanted it to, but so they do a lot of voiceover in the show, which I wanted to talk about. I don't really like voiceover, but this show does okay with it. So the first 4 episodes is from the perspective of this guy, Joe. He's the show's about a creepy guy who's falling in love with a girl and stalking her. I'm missing some great plot here. And then in the beginning of the 5th episode, they switch perspective to the girl's point of view, and you hear her thoughts instead of the guy's thoughts. And then you kind of follow her more, because the first 4 episodes you follow him. And when that happened, I was this is really cool. They don't follow through with it the whole episode. I was they should have just done this the whole episode. That would have been so cool. The main thing I felt was when I was watching her, I felt like the main guy. I felt creepy and which is weird. Because they set up the show where this guy Joe is following this girl, and I guess it kind of normalizes it. And then in the beginning of the 5th episode, they take the guy out of the equation, but you're still watching her, so you feel like you take Joe's place, and you're watching. I feel like that's good art. But they don't, and then they do that for 10 minutes, and then they switch back to Joe's perspective, and I was like, no, this is a cool premise, keep doing this. Make the whole second half of the season her perspective, or something, I don't know. I don't know if I explained that right, but where does it stop? Nobody knows. Looks like it stops in the back. I really thought that was cool, and I wanted to try to explain it, but I don't know if I did it well. Okay, it's gonna stop with the camera. Okay, it's right there. I think it goes left, and then it's gonna come back right here. Oh, go 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 go. Too much voiceover. I never like voiceover. This show, it's hard to imagine what it would be like without voiceover. I think the reason why voiceover helps the show is because it actually makes you understand. It makes you like the main character a little bit more. I mean, you still feel like but you understand why he's doing what he's doing. Otherwise, he's just this creepy stalker guy. If you don't hear his thoughts, you don't understand. Ugh, man, why does the camera keep doing this to me? Okay, it's gonna come back. Go, 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 go. Whoa, this is hard. I'd like to fix the camera. Just fix it. Stop it. Voiceover is almost always, it feels lazy. Like you're just explaining the character's motivations. You're not showing us why he's doing what he's doing. You're just telling us. The reason why it feels lazy, I think, is because nobody thinks the way people think in voiceovers. Like nobody thinks their motivations when they're doing it. They just do it. Nobody's like, oh, I'm doing this because I hate this person. They just... at least I don't do that. Or like, isn't it crazy that this person just said this thing to me? I need to say something back to them because I don't like them. Nobody thinks like that. And that's why it feels lazy, because it's not... I'm gonna fall. It's not, it doesn't feel real. And it simplifies things in a way that's like, people are complicated, and I'd like for things to be messy. I don't like it to be like, oh, this is exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I feel like I might be somebody who, I don't know, I guess I'm like a nerd, so I would like anime stuff, but I never really have been able to get into it because there's too much voiceover in anime. They spend so much time thinking their motivations, and like, this is my enemy, and isn't it crazy that he's doing this thing, but I know that I have to fight him because he's a bad guy. And it's like, just do it. Stop explaining everything. The only anime I've ever liked is called Full Metal Alchemist, but I think they still do they do voiceover in that? I don't think so. I don't know why it's like a trope in anime, but I've never seen an anime where they don't do voiceover. And I've said this before, but it's kind of almost why I don't really like reading books that much is because they do tend to over-explain things in fiction. Like, I mean, I don't care. Even to the point of like, oh wow, time up. To the point of like details, like, well, this person's wearing a coat and this person looks like this. I guess that's why I like movies better, because it's like you can condense everything and just like you can just show it. You don't have to say it. And so that's why books can be boring, I guess, sometimes, because feels like they're over explaining stuff. This one's tough. I was gonna try to do a stage every episode, but that's gonna happen. Oh. That would have been cool. I feel like the show is trying to say something about, like, it's trying to say something about relationships, and I don't know exactly what it's trying to say. I'm not smart enough, and I've never been in a relationship, so I don't know really what they're saying. Maybe about like modern relationships or like social media. I'm not smart enough to figure that out, but it does seem to be trying to say something interesting, and I do like it. Go. I can't tell where they're hitting. Go. You can make this. No. There's this. Maybe I can talk about this to end. There's this trope in TV shows, which is like, I think it's a way to manufacture like suspense, and they do it a lot in this show. And I think they overuse it a little bit, which is like the main character Joe will be. I think it works in this show because they do it to show that Joe is kind of like a smooth talker and he can get out of situations, but like he'll be stalking the girl and then like something will happen where, why isn't it coming? The only example I can think is like he gets in an accident and then a cop pulls up and he's like, he doesn't want the cop to run his plates, so he lies to him. That's not a good example. The better example is the girl comes over to his house and surprises him, and he has a bunch of her stuff in his apartment because he's stalking her, and he has like her phone and stuff. He uses her old phone to read her texts somehow. And so it feels like the romantic comedy version of like in horror movies where they do jump scares. It's like it feels cheap, like they're trying to manufacture suspense, because you know he's gonna get out of it, and it feels lame. It's like boring. Like, oh, how is he gonna get out of it this time? I'm gonna make it. I'm not explaining it very well. I'm not doing a good job at this. But there's a trope that it's like someone will say something that they know, but they're not supposed to know. So he's stalking this girl, so he knows a lot of stuff about her, but sometimes he'll forget what he's supposed to know and what he's not supposed to know. Kind of like in Groundhog's Day. Oop. What's happening? Oop. So he'll say something, or he'll be somewhere where he's not supposed to, and the girl will come up to him and be like, well, why are you here? That's weird. And he'll come up with a reason like, oh, well, I like books, so I'm at this Charles Dickens thing. I ran out of time. I didn't explain it well. I just never like in TV shows when they do that, where it's like, how did you know that? And then they come up with some lame excuse, and then the person's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's so lame and dumb. I don't like when TV shows do that. Ooh. And there's a... he goes to... I'm gonna die. There's a point where he goes to... He's following her to... She's going to like this... It's like a fair for like Charles Dickens, like... where everybody's dressed up like Charles Dickens, and they're like selling old used books. And then she sees him there, and she's like, whoa, this is so weird. Why are you here? You shouldn't be here. And then it goes to like a commercial break, and then it comes back, and she's like, oh yeah, you work at a bookstore, so it makes sense that you're here. Duh. Like that's the lamest one I've ever seen. And then in the end, he tells her the truth, that he's there because he's kind of like curious why she was there, and it's like, what are you doing? You're going back and forth. Don't do that. Okay, I didn't explain that well, but I have to end it here. Oh. Go. I knew I wasn't gonna make that. Okay. See you tomorrow.